The three topics for today's video are, first of all, a new Steam feature that's going to force you to save money. After that, we're going to talk about a developer who's saying that supporting the Steam Deck makes every game better. And finally, Steam Frame development kits are going out. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about Steam hardware. I hope you're having a great week playing a ton of video games. By the time this video is out, my video going through all of my recommendations of games that look and run great on the Steam Deck that are available at a great price during the Christmas sale is out, so go check that out. And also help me get to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing and setting your notifications to all. But let's get into the first news story here and talk about this new Steam feature that's going to force you to save money. So Valve has implemented a feature on Steam that's actually pretty cool. So the way this new feature works is not necessarily the newest way it works. It just takes a lot of the legwork off of you and puts it on Valve. So before, the way things worked is if you went to buy a game like, say, Elden Ring Night Rain, and there was a bundle that had both Elden Ring and Night Rain, that bundle will usually discount the individual games. And because of that, if you already own one of the games in the bundle, the overall bundle price will drop to whatever it is, subtracting, the game you already bought. And because there's a discount already in place, it would save you money to buy the bundle instead of the individual game. I think that was common knowledge for a while because I've been taking advantage of it for years. Like anytime I go to buy a new game, especially indie games, because indie developers like to talk to each other and bundle their games together that have similar themes like Sulfur and Zero Sievert, I think were bundled together at one point and you could get a good price for both games. But now the way it works is if you make it all the way to the cart with a game put in there as an individual game, it'll tell you, hey, this game is cheaper in a bundle. And I would imagine that that will only pop up if you already own one or two of the games in that bundle, but it could shake out where you could basically get two games for a cheaper price than the overall price of just buying that one game you want individually, which is pretty cool. You know what this reminds me of? A video I did a few weeks ago where a lot of developers were giving lip service on Twitter to other companies like Epic or Sony, I guess, and saying, oh, their storefronts are just so much better because they give developers a cut, they prioritize developers exclusively, they don't care about their customers. Valve is just a big mean old monopoly, and they didn't take into account that maybe, just maybe, people enjoy using Steam because it's a consumer-focused platform that puts the customer first above all else. And I get it, right? Like, game development is hard right now. There's more games coming out than ever. You got to learn how to optimize your games in Unreal Engine 5, or sometimes you don't. You just ship your game when it's 80% done and then complain when people don't buy it. Gearbox. But I think the methodology of just supporting the devs and hoping people come to you is flawed, and it's provable if you look at Epic Game Store. Like, on paper, Epic Game Store sounds like a great storefront, right? Like, it's a light launcher that has Fortnite in it. It has a full store. They give you coupons every time a sale goes on for like $10 off any game you want. The more games you buy, the more coupons you earn. It keeps the cycle going. They give out big AAA games for free all the time, but then in practice, no one actually uses it. And when you release a game exclusively on it, it doesn't matter if it's a full exclusive like Alan Wake 2 or a game like Borderlands 3 that came out a full year first on the Epic Game Store before coming to Steam. People don't like the Epic Game Store enough to the point where they consider that first launch, the Epic exclusive one, not a launch at all. Like, when it eventually comes to Steam, you will see people using verbiage like this game finally came to PC because either A, they don't consider the Epic Game Store playing on PC, or B, they just never knew it existed on that storefront in the first place. So every time a news story comes out about how Alan Wake 2 is still not profitable, they still haven't made their money back, they're still trying to figure out how to get more people to play it, the answer is simple. Put it on Steam. Like, I understand that Epic had some sort of publishing deal, and honestly, the blame for that falls on Remedy. When they made that deal, the data was there. No one really liked Epic Game Store from the jump, and I'm almost positive by the time that, they shipped Control and started working on Alan Wake 2, that was really the singularity tipping point where everything was hitting its peak in terms of negative sentiment towards the Epic Game Store. So when I see features like this that literally exist to force you to save money, it just makes me happy because I know at the end of the day, the goal is for Valve to make money, but they don't have to do this, right? Like, I'm sure there are people who realize later on that they could have got a cheaper price if they bought a game in a bundle instead of buying it a la carte, and then they do a refund request, and Valve is always trying to cut down on those refund requests. But I'd imagine also that the number of people who actually go through that work, you could count on one hand. I'm trying to think of any way to paint this as Valve being not consumer friendly, but really any way you slice it, this is just a cool move overall. And I didn't really see anyone talking about it. I had to go out of my way to find it, and then I was was talking about it with Felix from Deck Filter, and yeah, I just think this is sweet because the more money you save on one game, the more money you can spend on more games, and then you can pump up your numbers for your Steam Replay 2026. Like I had 113 new games played this year, which seems like a lot. And the cool thing is, because of features like this, Next Fest, free demos for stuff like Octopath Traveler 0, I didn't have to break the bank doing it. I played a lot of old games as well, and for the most part, even if they're not on sale, a lot of older games are available a lot cheaper. Like I somehow didn't own Half-Life Blue Shift or Opposing Force. I think I got those each for $2 because the Black Friday sale was running when I picked those games up, and I got a great gaming experience out of it. So yeah, I would love to see more features like this show up in other places, but it's just another way that Valve's storefront is a cut above the rest. So next time you hear someone complaining about them being a monopoly or whatever, I guess you can remind them that all they really exist to do is provide a great consumer experience, and that's why they're on top, and that's why by default they technically are a monopoly on PC. Moving on to the second news story here, a big developer has come out to say everyone should prioritize optimization for the Steam Deck because it'll ultimately make your game better. And the developer we're talking about today is the Astronauts who made Witchfire. If you missed my video a few videos back, I talked about how this game got its big update before the last big update since it is in early access. And one thing that came along with it is a Steam Deck preset. But unlike a lot of other Steam Deck presets, it's not just the lowest of the low settings and making the text bigger. The game has been optimized so well that it runs at a mix of medium, high, and a few low settings on the deck to the point where you can get a pretty much rock solid 40 FPS. And I was wondering if that was an intentional choice or if the game was just well optimized from the jump and then benefited from that on the deck. But the creative director of the game, who I'm just going to call Adrian because I don't want to butcher their last name, just did an interview, and here's what he had to say. I think every developer, if they can, should support Steam Deck. If you're making some, I don't know, some super duper complex game using some engine that's not the fastest, Unreal Engine 5, in the world, then maybe you will have problems. Maybe don't support the Steam Deck because, you know, 15 frames per second is not fun. But other than this, everybody should attempt to support that machine because it would make their game better. And you know, I really agree with that sentiment because if you put the bias aside, right? Like I love the Steam Deck. I wish more game developers would optimize for the Steam Deck. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it from an economy of scale perspective because the Steam Deck is technically low-end hardware, right? Like, you know, it's not the most strong device in the world. It only has to push to an 800p screen. It has to be a handheld, so it has to run at a lower TDP. But if you put in the time and energy to optimize your game so that it runs well and looks decent on the Steam Deck, that's going to scale up to every other PC that's accessing your game, right? Because if you optimize it for a handheld running at a low TDP with an 800p screen, then if you try to run that game on like a laptop or a desktop with a 4060 or 4060 Ti, chances are it's going to run even better and be able to get even higher frame rates at higher graphics settings, and more people in turn will be more excited to buy your game. There is a general sense of apathy out there right now, and it's at no fault of our own as consumers. It's basically all up to developers, to the point where like an engine like Unreal Engine 5 has huge stank on it because game after game after game, Silent Hill 2, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Silent Hill F to some extent, no matter what game uses that engine, they all have the same problems like traversal stutter, pop-in, bad frame rates, the whole gamut of bad problems. And then you get one game that kind of runs great like Arc Raiders, but you look at the rest and there's a huge pile of games that run crappy, right? So when people see Unreal Engine 5, they go, well, I was going to pre-order it, but maybe I'll hold off for the Digital Foundry video where they go through how the game runs and give me some optimized settings before I spend $70, download the game on launch night, and spend my few limited hours that I have for entertainment like playing games, playing tech support, trying to find the magical PC setting configuration that's going to allow me to play this game. And another thing I've harped on for the past 3 or so years is that the Steam Deck community is really dedicated and really loyal. It's not one of those devices where you buy it because of the novelty and then you use it a couple times and then you throw it in a drawer like a VR headset or something like that. It's a device that people buy, legitimately fall in love with, and legitimately use pretty much every day. So if you put the effort in to make sure you optimize your game for Steam Deck so that there's a preset there at launch, you don't do the classic bit of promising support at some point after launch and then it's just like increasing the text size or something like that, or the lowest graphics preset for the deck preset, people will not just consider buying your game or throw it on a wish list to maybe buy later. They'll show up and buy it, but they'll also play it. Everyone's obsessed with this engagement metric all the time. Like, how do we get more people to spend more time on Steam? How do we get more people to spend more time on the PlayStation Network? And of course, how do we get people to not bounce off of our game in the first 10 minutes? This problem is exacerbated by, PS Plus Extra and Game Pass Ultimate, where you can download a game, give it a shot, see if you like it or not. And if that game does not have an intro that hooks you, you will just bounce off of it. So if they want engagement in their game, they want people to be excited to play their game, it makes sense to optimize the Steam Deck, because look at every Sony release, look at all the big Square Enix releases, look at games like Baldur's Gate 3, even though it took a little bit longer, when they optimized it for Steam Deck, it was still in the top 100 most played, but it shot up the list because people were excited to play it on their Steam Deck. So yeah, I think this developer is spot on, and I hope other developers are listening, because I finally got around to trying out Witchfire and it's awesome. It's great on Steam Deck, it's great on my gaming PC, it's an incredibly well optimized game, and I will continue to go back to it for years to come because it's not done yet, and it's just awesome, and I want to support this developer for putting in time while their game was in early access to make sure that it was optimized correctly for the Steam Deck and in general. And that brings me to the third news story of today's video, which is about the Steam Frame. You guys asked, I'm delivering. I've been making sure that when I do my news searches every day, I search for the Steam Machine, I search for the Steam Deck, and of course, I now search for the Steam Frame as well. And I'm glad I do that because I am very excited for this VR headset now. I've been using my Oculus Quest 3 more, and I like the new update with the spatial and everything, but being able to just download my Steam games and not have to use Steam Link 100% of the time, that makes this new headset worth it 10 times over for me, because Steam Link for some reason just doesn't work correctly or all that well in general on my Wi-Fi. So I know there's been a lot of talk about this hardware getting delayed, the Steam Machine, the Steam Controller, and the Steam Frame, because of the memory situation with both SSDs and RAM, but it looks like they're still planning to release it in early 2026 because developers are revealing that they applied to get a Steam Frame development kit, and those development kits are being prepared for shipping right now, like before Christmas, before the holiday break and everything like that. So Valve clearly wants these developers to get to work porting their games over to the Steam Frame. And the cool thing is, because the Steam Frame runs on an ARM chip, it really shouldn't be all that difficult to port their games over from the Oculus sort of platform over to the Steam Frame's platform, because the Oculus runs on an ARM chip, and using an ARM chip allows you to play Android games, which, like, for all intents and purposes, VR games that you buy natively on your Oculus headset are Android games. So like the porting is all done on the back end by Valve. There's probably just some controller glyphs and things like that that they'll have to add to the games to make sure everything shows correctly, but hopefully it's a pretty seamless one-to-one process, because I've been in the VR Twitter world lately from tweeting about the Steam Frame so much, and it seems like people are at their wits' end with Meta. Developers, consumers, VR enthusiasts alike are just kind of over Meta. They see them chasing AR glasses and XR glasses and everything like that, and they see the writing on the wall. So it's cool to see Valve kind of coming in to pick up the pieces and make a gaming platform, gaming first as the priority, with their VR headset that's going to be good to go at launch. The big pit in my chest right now is that you guys know I'm playing through all the Half-Life games before Half-Life 3 comes out. I'm committed to believing that. I don't know if I should wait till the Steam Frame comes out and make Alex my first game on it, or if when I'm done with Half-Life 2 episode 1 and 2, I should just jump right into it on the Oculus because my brain is tuned to that game. I think I'm going to wait for the Steam Frame and make that my first game, because I don't foresee anything really being a launch killer app for the Steam Frame. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Oh, I have another thing for you guys. This is Coco, guys. I saw you guys commenting about her running around in the background of one of my videos, and I realized she's never been on the channel. She's my 12-year-old Shih Tzu that I got 3 years ago. Someone asked us to watch her for the weekend and never came back and got her, but that's fine because me and this dog, we're best friends. She's down here all the time while I'm filming. She's down here while I'm editing. She's right next to me because she's my little space heater when I'm playing Steam Deck, and she's always sleepy. So she's kind of like the best friend you could ever have. She's the best dog I've ever had by far. I was always a big dog guy. Like, we had labs and stuff growing up. I was like, I'll never have a Shih Tzu. I'll never have a terrier. Then this little freak comes into my life, and now we're just like the best of friends. I love her so much. But yeah, guys, that's all we have for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.